Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. We have 4 Gospels presenting Jesus Christ from 4 different points of view. And it's interesting to, number one, understand that, to understand each Gospel, but it's also provocative in a number of ways. Matthew is Jewish. He's a Levi. He presents Jesus Christ as the Mashiach Nagid, the Messiah, the King. Mark, who's really the secretary for Peter, we believe, focuses on Jesus Christ as the suffering servant. Many of the Jews felt there were 2 Messiahs in the Old Testament, the suffering servant and the reigning king. And that's really what Matthew talks about, the reigning king, very clearly. Mark really focuses on the suffering servant. And many rabbis have finally realized that their perception of 2 Messiahs really is 2 comings of the same Messiah. But in any case, Luke is a Gentile doctor. He's not interested particularly in the Jewish roots. He's interested in his humanity. And John, of course, is the mystic. He presents him as the Son of God. Now, because of that focus, there are 3 of the 4 Gospels have genealogies that are different, incidentally. Matthew presents his genealogy starting with the first Jew, Abraham, takes it down through David, down to Joseph, the legal father of Jesus Christ. Mark is not interested in pedigree for his purposes, so he doesn't have a genealogy. Luke, being a doctor, starts from Adam, the first man, and carries it all the way through Mary, the mother of Christ. And John has a genealogy most people don't recognize. The first 3 verses are the genealogy of the pre-existent one. And in any case, Matthew emphasizes what Jesus said, proving that he was a fulfillment of the Old Testament. Mark, what Jesus did. The Gospel of Mark is like a shooting script. He doesn't speak of grass, it's green grass and so forth, if you notice that. It's always action and so forth. And you can hear Peter all through it. Luke was interested in his humanity. He emphasized what Jesus felt, his compassion, and so forth. And John focuses unquestionably on who Jesus was, or we should say is. Mel Gibson did a remarkable job with his movie, The Passion. But one of the things it can't get across, I don't know how you would really, is that the crucifixion was not a tragedy, it was an achievement. And the whole issue is who he was, and he, of course, the Son of God. Continuing this, Matthew thus is speaking to the Jew, Mark to the Roman, Luke to the Greek, and John to the church. In that spirit, then, the first miracle in Matthew is a very Jewish thing, the cleansing of a leper being symbolic, of course, of sin, among other things. Both Mark and Luke, being Gentile in their focus, is demons expelled in each of them as the first miracle. John's first miracle is a strange one to be a first miracle, the water into wine. But it's a very mystical thing, demonstrating that Jesus was the Lord of the Torah, among other things. Again, Matthew ends with a very Jewish thing, the resurrection. Mark, the ascension. Luke, the promise of the Spirit, setting up, of course, his sequel, which is Luke volume 2, called the book of Acts. And John ends his gospel with the promise of a return, which sets up his sequel, which, of course, is the book of Revelation. So we see structure there. We see the fingerprints of the Holy Spirit all over these things. When we studied the camp of Israel, when we're going through the Torah, we noticed that the 12 tribes were camped in 4 camps on the east, west, south, and north. And the ensign of those 4 camps, the lead tribe in the east side was, of course, Judah, which had as ensign as the lion of the tribe of Judah. On the west was Ephraim, which had as his ensign the ox. On the south, Reuben, that man. And on the north, we had Dan, which was originally a serpent, but then a serpent with an eagle in its mouth, and ultimately the eagle. And so we have those 4 faces, which, of course, we recognize as the 4 faces of the cherubim. Every time we see the throne of God, we see these cherubim with the 4 faces, the lion, the ox, the man, and the eagle. And, of course, so one of the things that we're not going to go through all of these, but just to give you a quick focus, you'll see how Matthew singles out presenting Jesus Christ as the Messiah of Israel. And okay.